Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, and I'm going to be talking about g.l.o.w Season 3, Episode 7. It's called Hollywood Homecoming. And of course, thanks to Tim Neal, who sponsors these episodes. He's one of our patrons. So, this episode, we get to see a few of the other characters again, and there's some that we don't get to see at all. I mean, Ruth has like a cameo at the end, which is interesting because she's typically one of the staples of any of these episodes. But yeah, we'll start with Debbie's plot since that's the one that ends with Ruth. Debbie has brought her son to Vegas and he's running rampant in the hallways and she's trying to do bookkeeping whilst he's running around, and Jenny comes to ask for a raise because she does all this costume design work that she's not technically being paid for, which Debbie appreciates. It's a really fun little sequence because after it's like over, she's like, I was so nervous. She's like, I couldn't even tell. That was, but she goes to see Bash, who is resting his voice because he's been shouting while commentating at the shows, and she has a very cathartic scene where basically, oh wait, you can't speak, you're writing things down. And she's like, well, you're a effing dickhead and I'll never trust you again. But she really lets him have it, and given what she said about him last episode, it's a really nice kind of little payoff for it. But what this episode really is for Debbie is a little bit of baby's day out because her son gets into the elevator and ends up on the casino floor. But she meets the guy that she met in the plane, the older guy, who's maybe in his mid-late 50s or whatever. And she wants to buy him a drink to thank him for sort of, looking after her son down in the casino, and he kind of offers a dinner instead. And she's like, oh, it's kind of like a date, okay. And they go on this date, and she's kind of happy to be with someone who's an adult. And then he says, oh yeah, it must be nice to get away from the baby. And of course what she really means is all the younger men she's been kind of having flings with. And they seem to hit it off. There's some chemistry. There's like a fun moment where she realizes that she's been calling him Tex, but that's not really his name. She just assumed it was for some reason. And they have a good kind of laugh about it. And they connect a little bit. And at the end of the date, she asks him up to her room. And he suggests, how about instead of that, I take you out again tomorrow? And it's a really notable moment because Debbie was essentially trying to turn it into another one-night stand. She was essentially going to just turn it into what she's been having with the other, the valets and whoever else recently. And he was kind of putting his, put a line in the sand saying, no, I don't want a one-night stand. I actually want to date you. I want to actually get to know you. It makes it a little bit different. And I think, she kind of, maybe nervously at first, but accepts this. And when we see her go back up to her room, we see that she seems happy about this. She's smiling as she lies in bed because it's different. It's different from everything she's had this summer. And between bringing her son here and actually going on a date with someone who's not just for a fling, it actually feels like her life has, a little bit direction again. She even says on the date that, it's like she's aiming barrels down at life and doesn't know where she's going to come out. And it feels like maybe she has some direction now. And it's also a nice reveal that the babysitter is Ruth. Ruth's like fallen asleep on the other bed. The idea, because again, last episode she said to Debbie that her son and her family is a part of her life that she doesn't want to touch because of her involvement and how it broke up. And it's just a nice little reveal here at the end. It doesn't, there's no dialogue for it. There's no nothing. It just, back when, not Tex, JJ was his name, but Tex, when he made the date, he says, have you got a good babysitter? And she says, yeah. So it's a nice little just silent reveal at the end that good babysitter is Ruth. And it's a nice little, it shows again how they've grown back closer together again, and where their friendship is, but also gives you this nice ending for Debbie because she's maybe finally moving to something real. And notably means that both her and Ruth both have older or potential older boyfriends. More on Sam in a bit. Because we'll switch over to Bash, I think, next. Bash and Rhonda. Bash's mother, Birdie, comes by, having found out her son's gotten married, and is here to accuse her of being a green card wife and all sorts of things. Rhonda's trying to be nice, but keeps letting things out like she used to sleep in her car, which Bash is like, no, don't say things like that. But she wants to take Rhonda out to the shopping for clothes, and she's trying on different things. She's kind of testing her by giving her 2 picks of certain types of clothes and things like that. But ultimately, Rhonda admits that she married him for a green card, but she's fallen in love with him since. And of course, Bash's mother almost feels that she's taken the sport out of her digging, of trying to find out that that's what she's really done. But it kind of has this sweet turn to it where Birdie kind of recognizes what Rhonda brings to the table, because Rhonda says that Bash doesn't know how to cash a check, and that he didn't even, she's not even sure that he knew he'd been paid and how to actually handle his money. Despite the fact that we've always seen him as the one with the money, he doesn't actually know how to do anything with it or handle it. And she had to do it for him, and she's kind of in a lot of small ways taking care of him in ways that maybe Birdie never really noticed or realized was happening. And ultimately, Birdie kind of lets this trust fund ruling go through, where now that he's married, he's not just getting an allowance from his trust fund. He now has access to all of it, and it's almost like having Rhonda there to kind of babysit him in a way, is what's given her the confidence to do it. So even though she's still cold and stern by the end of the plot, it makes complete sense to her to sort of give him this access now. And it's kind of sweet because Rhonda says something really sweet here, where she says, he doesn't, he's not good with money, but no one has to be good with everything. The idea being that Bash is good with other things, and obviously, Bash has a lot of faults, but it was kind of a sweet interpretation of him, and you really get the feeling at this point, I think, that she does care about him. I mean, we got that last episode as well, where she was sticking up for him, and there's been all little bits here or there, but no, it was a really sweet moment. And of course, there is the moment at the end when Birdie's leaving, and she's having a little moment with Bash, saying, "No, I'm going to throw you some wedding party you're going to hate. There's no way I'm letting you away with that." But Rhonda comes to hug her and thank her, because Rhonda's very pleasant, as she always is. And Birdie says, "Hey, keep him interested by whoever you see fit." And that line to me suggested, I mean, it might not be, but it kind of hinted to me that Bash's mother maybe has an inkling of his sexuality in a way that Bash himself either, or at least is denying, if not outright doesn't know. And that was interesting to me. And I have to wonder, if not by the end of this season, if we get season 4, how much of the story is Rhonda going to be her discovering and noticing things about Bash that maybe haven't come up yet, that have been kind of in the background. So I'm very, very curious about that. But so surprisingly sweet plot by the end of it. I think this was the first one where I actually kind of found Bash and Rhonda's relationship, especially from Rhonda's side of it, where Rhonda's feelings for him and the way she's looking out for him actually did have this genuine sweetness to it. Whereas before, it was this kind of thrown together thing at the end of last season. And we've had the odd couple element of it, a little bit here or there throughout the season, but this was kind of the first time I was oh yeah, this is actually, it's kind of a genuine connection here, that, or at least from Rhonda, that I care about the potential fallout of when this breaks down. So no, that was good. But of course, I think, and I'll just mention one small scene with Arthur. Arthur confirms that her and Yolanda have broken up, and she goes to Cherry, thinking Cherry might relate because of Keith, but of course, Cherry's kind of in denial. And that's basically the scene. There's not really much more to it. She kind of has this little moment with the crap stealer, but the main plot of the episode, though, by far, is definitely, and even the title of the episode, Hollywood Homecoming, is obviously named after this, where Sam is in LA with Justine, and he brings Justine to multiple meetings at studios, who he sent her script to, and he goes to TriStar, goes to a few other places. The first person is nice enough and is interested, but has a bunch of notes and wants to change the gender of the main character. And Justine's going along with it and taking down notes, and Sam kind of critiques her for this afterwards and says, no, you don't take out your notepad, because that just makes them want to give you more notes, because you're obviously willing to do everything they ask. And he's constantly lecturing, and he's getting frustrated about the parking lot is, and so on and so on. And then the second one, which he hopes will go better because he knows the guy, ends up being worse, because the guy never read the script and is just there to insult Sam as much as humanly possible, because Sam made his life miserable, because Sam gave him his first job in the industry, and he wasn't treated very well, so he gives Sam an earful. And Justine really sticks up for him. And the heart of this episode is very much Justine and Sam's relationship. And there's some really heartwarming, but also some very frustrated moments with the pair of them. And it all boils up to the third meeting, where the guy is very enthusiastic. He wants to make the movie. Justine's sort of pitching it to him. He's already read the script, but she's sort of giving her influence. He's talking about how it's based on her life and meeting her dad for the first time, and the idea of making movies and making small movies in a place where all the big movies are made. And Sam, there's a great thing here where the camera focuses on Justine, but eventually reveals Sam, and Sam does not look good. you get the immediate impression that something's not quite right. And then you start getting the more stylized moments where it's the extreme close-ups, and it's the close-up of the hand and his eyes and his face, and he's having trouble breathing, the sound effects of his heartbeat. And right away, as soon as it starts doing this stuff, it's like he's having a heart attack. That's what's happening right now. And he actually holds it together until he gets outside with Justine. And Justine wants to go celebrate because this is a big deal. They've basically said, we're going to send you an offer next week, so don't sell the script to anyone else. She's so happy. She wants to celebrate with her dad. This is the thing. Even before the end of the final scene, where she really sort of gets down to why it's their movie and not just hers, every time she talks about it, it's our movie. They're sending us an offer. It's not just sending her an offer. And he kind of does this thing where he does not want to admit that he needs help. He does not want to let Justine know that he is in trouble. And he just basically acts like dickhead Sam to get her to go. Go hang out with that idiot ex-boyfriend Billy. Go and do whatever. But don't, not with me. I've got a thing to go do. But there's this wonderful moment. The best scene of the episode, for me, the best moment of the episode, is she gets in the car, because he gives her the keys, says, I'll get a cab where I'm going. And she gets in the car, and just as she's leaving, he says, hey, Justine. He goes up next to the window and says, hey, I want you to know that I love you and I'm really proud of you. And it's this really genuine moment. And we know why he's saying it, because he thinks he might die. He thinks there's a chance that he's going to die. And he wants to make sure he says this before. If this is the last time she sees him, that's what he wants to say to her. And of course, her thinking he's just being weird is like, yeah, okay, I love you too. Weird. You're being weird. And it's that, from her perspective, it's a really odd moment. But for us, because we know what's happening with Sam, is a really touching little thing. And then he immediately just asks a stranger to phone him an ambulance because he starts collapsing. And it's a really, really well done sequence. And of course, when he's in the hospital later, they confirm he's had a heart attack, and he refuses to have anyone called. He doesn't want anyone to be called. And it's this thing where he's convinced he has to do this alone. He doesn't want people to know he's, I think Sam is the idea of actually showing himself to be vulnerable. And I think what's beautiful about this, in terms of the context of the whole show and the characters, that my favorite episode from season 1 was when he went to the clinic with Ruth when she needed the abortion. And the way he was there for her during that, he is basically refusing to let anyone do that for him right now. And it adds this great, selfless stupidity is the phrase I'm going to use here for this, where he he doesn't want to put anyone through that. He's also, and arguably it's less to even do with being selfless and more to just do with he's too embarrassed to admit or be seen that he needs help or be vulnerable. But he's too stupid to let anyone do that for him. So I think when people find out, it's going to be a big moment. But he comes back, and Justine gives him shit for disappearing for a day. And he's like, well, I had a thing to do. And, he says, no, and she eventually says, you're going to direct this movie. And he's like, no, I'm not going to direct. I've not directed anything in ages. What are you talking about? I can't direct. Don't throw this all on me. I'll ruin this for you. Because we find out that she said, I will only take this offer if he can direct it, if my dad can direct it. And he gives a shit for it. And again, we have this touching moment. And this is where Justine gets to tug on the heartstrings a little bit, because she says, look, well, you're allowed to believe in me, but I'm not allowed to believe in you. No, I believe in you. You can do this, and I want you to make this movie. And he's like, and he takes this in. He doesn't just continue being dickhead Sam. He says, all right, fine, we need to celebrate. But of course, the bittersweet tinge to this is that he does take out a bottle of whiskey and he takes a drink. And there's this moment of, because he was just told in the hospital that he has to change his lifestyle. He has to make a he was lucky that he survived, but he has to change things about his life. And one of them was definitely booze. And here he is having a glass of whiskey the next day. Now, there's the slim chance that he's taking this as the one last hurrah. And it's not like he said he can never drink, but the morning he gets out of the hospital after a heart attack feels like a bit not the right time to start drinking again. Feels like the wrong moment, but it's otherwise it's a very upbeat ending. That is the one part of it, is that it almost feels like Sam is like, hey, if I just survive through making this movie, I can go out in a blaze of glory. I can make this my magnum opus. I can make this my it's better to burn out than to fade away kind of thing. Does he want to go down like that? And I think the heart of Sam's story is maybe going to be the others, should they find out, mainly Justine and Ruth being the ones closest to him. sort of beaten into him that he needs to like stick around and that they care about him and so on. So I sense a lot of great drama coming from this. I really do. I mean, I don't want him to die, obviously, but I mean, there's drama in that if it happens. But I think we'll probably go in other places with it, and I'm excited. Obviously, so we've set up this thing where he's going to be making a movie, and like, are we going to do all that in the last few episodes of this season, or is this setting stuff up for the potential season 4? I think that's my hope. I like the idea of there being a subplot all season of them making some movie, but we'll see. We'll see. No, I thought that was a solid episode. I think this show has gotten very good at its characters and them having emotional beats with each other. Is something that, you know, it kind of hit towards the end of season 1 that the show was capable of that, and it's kind of progressed throughout to the point where in season 3, last episode in the desert and then this episode, I think both contained a lot of great moments where I really cared about the characters. You know, Jenny and Melrose had that great scene last episode. I think this episode has 2 great Justine and Sam scenes. And then a couple of little great things with Debbie and Rhonda with Birdie. It's really solid writing, and yeah, I mean, if you're unsatisfied that the show has kind of drifted from what it was in season 1, I mean, it definitely has. There's no denying that, but I think what it's doing is what gives it you know, a future. It's what gives it longevity. Because if it was just about the wrestling show, it would be done really by this season, if not like by the end of season 2. So, I'm into these characters. I'm into their journey. The show is still often very funny, and it might even it may. I mean, debatably, the rating's at the best that it's been. I maybe I'd have to go back and rewatch season 1 and 2 to really like give a definitive statement on that, but I've been very impressed this season. So now I am looking forward to episode 8. So that's episode 7 of g.l.o.w. Let me know what you think of the episode, of course, in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that usual stuff. Get me on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support everything we do in these reviews, you can, of course, do that by rating the podcast on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast app you use. 5 stars helps us out a lot and spreads the show out to more people. You can, of course, support us financially over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month, and you get some bonuses for that. Higher tiers obviously get you more stuff too, so go have a look and keep everything going, and keep my cats fed. Basically. But that is me, so thank you once again for watching or listening. Check out all the content we have. Obviously there's more TV reviews on this Netflix feed and on YouTube. I'm also working through Unbelievable right now, which is a very different show to this, of course, and we'll be trying Criminal this week, so check out that stuff. But otherwise, that is me, so thank you once again for watching or listening. I always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?